Hi everyone, my name is Mel Beasley. I am the Regional Director for the Anindilyakwa region with the Department of Chief Minister and Cabinet. I'm part of the East Arnhem office, which is led by Regional Executive Director Jim Rogers. Jim's unwell today, unfortunately isn't able to be here. I would like to start by acknowledging that we are meeting on Larrakia country today. I pay my respects to elders, past, present and emerging. I would also like to acknowledge all traditional owners and Aboriginal people who are here with us today. As the Regional Director for the Anindilyakwa region, I have the privilege of living and working on beautiful Anindilyakwa country. We have an office based in Nanurugu, and in addition to our place-based work on Groote, I also lead the Aboriginal Interpreter Service for the East Arnhem region with a fantastic team of AAS staff and interpreters across Yolngu and Anindilyakwa country. We are here today to talk about the Groote Archipelago Local Decision Making Agreement. I would like to acknowledge Anindilyakwa Land Council Chairman Tony Romaba, who is unable to be here today, but has been instrumental in the establishment of the Groote LDM agreement and the progress made to date. When the NT government first introduced the concept of local decision-making policy to Anindilyakwa leaders in 2016 and 2017, Chairman Tony asked CMC representatives the following question: is this agreement going to be binding? And will this agreement be strong enough? To quote Chairman Tony, the concept of local decision-making is nothing new. Anindilyakwa people have always been best placed to make decisions about matters affecting their own lives. What was of great importance was to ensure the transition to community control and local decision-making through LDM was permanent and strong enough to withstand a change in policy or a change in government. We're always reminded of Chairman Tony's words in how we work with Anindilyakwa leaders to implement the local decision-making agreement for ongoing and permanent change, a stepping stone to treaty. It has almost been 6 years since the in-principle Groote LDM agreement was signed by Chairman Tony and former Chief Minister Michael Gunner. Since then, 6 implementation plans have been signed and significant progress has been made to date across the priority areas of health, housing, law, justice and rehabilitation, economic development, education, and local government. These priorities are being led and driven by many Anindilyakwa leaders through community-led organisations. In addition to the Anindilyakwa leaders you will hear from today, others who could not be here today include Sherelle Warrawillia, Chairperson for the Anindilyakwa Housing Aboriginal Corporation, who is leading the Housing Implementation Plan, Ida Mamarika and Serena Barra, Chair and Deputy Chair of GBCAT, who are leading the Education Implementation Plan, Jennifer Yantanga, who is the Chairperson for WASAC, Wanamamalia Health Services Aboriginal Corporation, leading the work of the Health Implementation Plan, and Maddie McKenzie, Chairperson for the Community Justice Group, working to implement priorities under the Law, Justice and Rehabilitation Implementation Plan. While all NT government agencies are providing a supporting role, this is not government's story to tell. I would like to invite Anindilyakwa leaders, Bradley Barra and James Durrilla, to speak about the incredible work being undertaken across the Groote LDM agreement.
Thanks, Mel. Good morning, everyone. My name's James Durrilla, and I work in AHAC, Anindilyakwa Housing Aboriginal Corporation. As Mel pointed out, with the LDMA agreement, AHAC was set up in 2018 and then commenced operations in 2019 and has grown, becoming the first registered remote community housing provider in the Northern Territory. As I said, established under the Groote Archipelago Local Decision Making Agreement, The housing implementation plan was signed in 2019 between ALC, NTG, and AHAC. With support from the ALC, NTG, and AHAC have completed many of the key actions from the plan and now focused on public housing transfers and housing development commitments. NRSCH registration, AHAC became a Tier 2 community housing provider under the NRSCH in February 2021. It is AHAC's vision to ensure all Anindilyakwa people can access sustainable housing that places culture first and maintained, managed, and developed by the local people. We have contracts with the Northern Territory Government to provide tenancy support services and remote housing maintenance. These have been in place for the past 2.5 years. We have the Homeland Service Provider, commenced in July 2020. AHAC redeveloped training material for tenant education so they are more culturally appropriate for our communities. Education materials were created in Anindilyakwa language to ensure tenants understood their rights and responsibility.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Bradley here. Just going back to the conversations you said earlier, like what's treaty, and like what Mr. Thing earlier said, but what's makarata? Well, we have on Groote we call minimogara in my culture on Groote Archipelago, and the old people sat down, the leaders in the community sat down and said, how can we tackle law and justice? How can we work together? The local elders sat down and we went through, what can we do? How can we do it? We have on Groote the local justice group called the Peacemakers. So if there's anything happening in the community or there's always the strong leaders in the community get together and sort things out. We have the community court as well for our young people. So our elders sit down with the judge and negotiate with them, talk to them. What's the best way to sort the young fella out or the person out? How can we do it? Send him on country. He can do his time on country. And then we have a prison camp that is built on Groote, so it'd be ready to hold new prisoners in the next couple of weeks. It's called the Groote Island Healing Centre, and it's got 32 beds. So we can get our countrymen that are locked up in Darwin, come out and finish out their time out on country, close to family. And that's 50% of who's in jail right now. So I'm going to bring a local mob, they can finish off their time back home on the new prison camp, on the new healing centre, and go through the programs as normal as well, and work within the community. And we have this local group, young men, that has each groups for young generation, young fellas that take them out on country, such as Gibi Gang, take them out on country, land them all on country. And in the last 4 years, there's never been a youth in detention in the last 4 years from Groote Island through all that programs that we did on Groote. economic development. As you all know, there's a new mining opening up on Groote Island called the Winchelsea Island, and they're one of the traditional owners of Winchelsea and the Little Paradise project. And I'm full-time working with the GHAC, Good Holdings Aboriginal Corporation. We have all those in the economic development. We've got the Little Paradise project, such as aquaculture, because we all know up in our northern Arnhem Land, right across NT, and the northern part, we've traded with our neighbouring tradies, all the Macassans. And we know that because we've got stories and history passed down. We've got the aquaculture. That's we're looking at collecting treepang and sell it off. We've got the timber mill, solar farm. There's a 10 megawatt solar farm will be built on Groote Island to sell power back to the mining company that is on Groote, to sell the power back. We've got housing, and once the mining leaves, we've got tourism as well, once everything's in place. And we're all doing this for not just now. We're doing all this economic development for the future of Groote. What's our kids going to do? Going to have? What's our next generation's going to have? And their kids and their kids. That's why we're setting all this up for the next generation. It's going to be a slow start. Or we're already there, but it's going to be slow. But we want to keep carrying on. And when the first economic development on the Section 19 leases with the Winchelsea mine, when the first we had the agreement on Groote, I was there. I was probably maybe the youngest, because I remember my father was there, all my Hollis brothers. There's two clan groups, Barra and Jaguar, and he said, "All right, we've got all this land, we've got all this. What can we do?" So we've just decided to do our own economic development on Groote, but not just for share the two clan groups. It'll share all 14. It'll benefit all 14 clan groups right across Groote Archipelago, because that's the number one rule on Groote. We always share. Golden rule. Doesn't matter. Two clan groups have their own thing. That it goes for everyone. That was the number one rule. And with the Winchelsea thing as well, the reason why we wanted to, as traditional owners, wanted to do mining in our own backyard is because so we can have a sustainable future for Groote Island, whatever the revenues made from the Winchelsea mine. And we did that as traditional owners, and because we want to set ourselves up for the future and for the next generation. Yeah, thank you.
Yep. With the education side of things on Groote, as you can see on the screen here, 61 million ABA funding, or grants, I should say, sorry, to build a new boarding school on Bickerton Island, which is not far from Groote Island. And with that new boarding school, going to be introducing a bilingual curriculum. And that way we can get more local kids now going to the school under the local programs. And with that new school, it's also independent. Because the other schools on Groote, I shouldn't say all of them, but aren't working properly, and hopefully this will pick up where they left off so it can get more kids into education, because we live in both worlds, Aboriginal and non-Aboriginal, the Western world. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Going back as to the economic development, I want to say about housing. Health is the main issue in communities, and we all know that. We've all been grown up in communities. We've seen communities alike. So we've sat down with the board and talked. What can we do on health on Groote? And we've come up with few solutions, and we said, all right, we want to do it. Health is the main problem on Groote, because living out in a remote area, it's pretty hard for get health workers and live on island. And part of that economic development, there's a section on that little Paradise and Butlumba Bay Highway. That's in my area. There's an area there we've agreed to build new houses for health workers who live on Groote, not just fly in and fly out. They can live there permanent resident. And the other thing is food on each, shops, old people eat a lot of junks. And you go to a shop, especially in communities, it's not good. And then we've came up with a plan and put it all together. We came up with a new community kitchen. It's built on my area to cook 1,000 meals a day and take it out to communities every day. Nice, nutritious, good high protein, good food. And for look after the people and old people and the children as well and the kids. Yeah.
Local government. The long-term goal is to take control of the local government on Groote, and which through the LDMA we finally got under us now, so got all 6 under the LDMA, or local agreement. Our first election is going to be in October this year, and head office is going to be located on Groote. And as I said, it was last of the 6 LDMA agreement.
Hi everybody, my name is Mark Hewitt. I've had the privilege of working on Groote since 13 years. And we really started at the beginning of that time with the chairman, Tony, and other leaders to build a strategic plan that would link into the timing when mining would cease on Groote. And that plan is a very big plan, and it fed directly into the local decision-making agreement framework when that came up as a policy a few years later. So all of the things the guys have been talking about were there from the beginning, and we've just stuck with that plan, and we've had the very strong backing of the board. We've been through 5 iterations of board now, but it's always been the same plan. The other thing that's special on Groote is that you've got an economy of scale, because the size of the population of traditional owners around 2,000, and that's a number that seems to be really good to be able to deliver on change in a manageable way. So that's just an observation of mine. The other thing, it's very important to point out that the ALC can only facilitate and financially support the emergence of these different corporations that you've seen, whether it's housing, education, a mining project, a health strategy, and they're all ORAC corporations and they're independent of a land council. Land council can't control that, but they can, and under the Land Rights Act, facilitate that to occur. The other feature of the work, for example, the residential village and the solar farm, those two projects alone require a capital to build a village of roughly 50 houses to support the local decision-making agreements, can never be paid for by government as an upfront payment or by the same with the solar farm. It requires a capital injection of around $30+ million, and the residential village, $50 million. You have to go to the private sector. You have to have an agreement with the GEMCO to buy the power, and you have to have an agreement with the territory government that those houses will be leased over a period of 30, 40 years. Then the banks can provide the support. And we've had exceptional encouragement from all the big four banks and the NAIFs. They're lining up to invest in this based on those agreements. The other sector which we've tapped into is the philanthropic sector. We wouldn't have got the healing centre across the line unless we had Paul Ramsay Foundation jump in. That then triggered the Australian government to jump in. The territory government, led by Leanne Little, always were shoulder to the wheel on this. So it's been a real collaboration. And the Land Council can't negotiate with banks and take loans. It has to be an Aboriginal corporation. We're talking about Groote Holdings leading that. So finally, I just want to mention, yes, the revenue from mining will be very substantial. It takes a long time to build that. It's been essentially 5 years' work alone just to get to the point of being on the edge of environmental approval. That again will create a demand for capital to get the key infrastructure to be able to extract that, which all stacks up from exhaustive studies. We know that the resource is there and we know it will make profit. But the purpose of that is not just to make a fast buck. That then goes into our mining trust to sustain programs that don't make profit, such as community support programs, preserving culture programs, spawn and rec programs, community kitchen, things of that nature. And the final thing I'll just mention, and very important, is to understand what's going on the ground in terms of are things working? Where are the deficits? Where are the measurable changes? So we work very closely with ANU, Peter Yu's department, and done a completely forensic baseline study. We have our own internal team that is working every day on reaching out to the community and finding out what's going on and giving feedback to the ALC board to be able to adjust and recalibrate where we need to respond. Interesting times at the moment because of Cyclone Megan, I think she was called. The boat that was tied up to the loading facility on Groote punched a probably 200 metre hole in it, the loading facility. So there's no royalties flowing from Groote for the next 6 to 8 months, we reckon, which means we're already having to deal with a future existential issue here is what happens when mining stops. It's very difficult to get fuel at the moment. People are having to work from home. We know we're going to have no royalties, and the Aboriginal benefit account is facing this issue too at the moment. So these are the big things that we've embraced. We're well prepared. We're going to have to go on a big diet for a while, but it's exciting work and very fulfilling, and you can see the change on the ground. Thank you.
Thanks everyone for listening. We don't have time for questions today, but just in addition to the ANU report, just to finish up, there is a comprehensive monitoring and evaluation process that ALC, NT Government and Anindilyakwa's worked together on. That includes the 4-year progress report, and we also have a regular newsletter that goes out to share information and updates across the LDM priority areas. So the latest newsletter is available today, and it's just out on the front of the NT Government desk. So please feel free to take a copy. We don't have time for questions today, but we'll be around for today, and please feel free to reach out anytime. Thank you.
Just stay. Oh.